Civil3D. I'm gonna go back first. So what I wanna show you is how to use available files. For example, I like to use USGS, which is the United States Geological Survey. They have a lot of maps that you can use. So one of the first things that you need to have if you want to have a good project in AutoCAD is to develop correct surfaces, because once you have a good surface, then you can do everything else. For example, you can do transportation, you can do hydraulics, you can do just grading of the terrain or anything like that. So it's very important to have good starting point. Now, a lot of times when you work on a project, you won't have any available surfaces in Civil3D. So you have to start from scratch and create your own. Now I'm going to show you pretty much step by step. So first, I have this bookmark, but I'm going to show you how to get to this one. I have the USGS. Well, this is pretty much the one I need. So if you just type in USGS elevation, I actually have that already here, elevation contours download, and you search this, it's going to be pretty much the first thing that pops up. So if you open up this website, it's going to offer you to download the application or just to launch this application. So I'm going to hit launch in here, and it will take me directly to the map service of USGS. Now you can see there's the map of the US. You can select any area. So in this case, we're going to work with a portion of Wyoming, but the same thing applies if you work in any state down the road. You can do the same thing. So here on the left side, we have different types of data that we can download. Now, the two of these are the most important if you want to get contours. First, if you want to have, and this is the one we're going to use. So this is the elevation products that says 3D EP. And then under all subcategories, I'm going to deselect the one that I have, and I'm just going to select the contours. And as you can see, automatically, I can select the shapefile. So this is one that will give you a pretty large area, and you can download the contour lines. They are 20 foot apart. So if you need more detail, I'm going to show you another example. But in most cases, just for demos like this is good enough. If you want to have a more detailed data, then you go down. There's this one here. It says topo map data and topo style sheet. So if I expand this one, and again, I select the shapefile, you can see this is going to be a much smaller area, but the data is going to be there's going to be a lot more details in this data. So it's 7.5 by 7.5 minutes versus the one that's in contour lines, the previous one, which is 1 by 1 degrees. So this one's going to give you a bunch of different shape files if you download this particular file. And the one that you want is always going to have the elevation contour in the name. So this one, again, is going to be a lot more details. And if you want to have a good project with a lot of details, then I recommend using and downloading this one. But for our particular demo here, we don't need that much details. The procedure is exactly the same. So whichever elevation product you use, either this one or the topo map, it's going to be exactly the same approach. So I'm going to select the shapefile contours, and then I can zoom in. I'm actually going to use an example from Barker's capstone project, where he has the students working on a portion of right here somewhere. Let me find it. It's the Levitt Reservoir, which is somewhere in this area right here. So I need to find the elevation products for this particular area. So what I can do, for example, I can just do a box point, and I say, I need the area somewhere here. So I just create a little box. And then here, go back on the left side, it says Find Products. I'm going to click on Find Products. So it says here it found 2 of them. So one is for Sheridan. The other one is for Cody. Now, if I want to see exactly which one I want, because this is kind of the area that I'm looking for, I can hit either footprint or the thumbnail. I like the thumbnail because it kind of shows me the actual image. So if I click on Sheridan, this is the thumbnail. that I'm gonna get. So this is the area that I will download as a shapefile. If I click on Cody, it's gonna be on the left side, which is actually a little bit outside of my area, so I don't need this one. All I need is to download the file that has contour lines for Sheridan, Wyoming. So again, you can see, for example, I can turn this one off, put the footprint, and it gives you like a box of the area that you're gonna download as a shapefile. Now, all I need to do next is hit the download button, and it's gonna be a zipped file that says Sheridan, Wyoming 1x1 degree shapefile. And I'm gonna save this one. So let me go back to my class demo, and I'm gonna show you that file. So it's a pretty fast download. So now I'm gonna go back to my download area, and I'm just gonna extract this one first because I need to be able to use those. So if I open this folder after I extract, one of the files is gonna be, in this case it says AutoCAD shapefile, but this is just because for some reason I have it already set up to automatically recognize this as an AutoCAD. But in your case, this is just gonna be an SHP file, or the shape file. So this is the one that we are concerned about. As you can see, it's a pretty large file. Okay, so now I have the data downloaded. Now what I can do is go back to my AutoCAD and then start using this data. So this is the drawing. Now, what I recommend, I kind of try to open a typical Civil3D startup page, and it will always show you these properties. I like to turn this one off when I'm not using it. One reason is if I have a lot of elements in my drawing and I select multiple elements, it will try to get properties of each element, and then it's going to slow down my drawing significantly. So in case I don't use my properties, I'm just going to turn it off. And you can, here on the Home tab, you can turn them back on if you need. So this is it looks like a little calculator, and then you can turn that one back on and off. So I usually like to just turn it off if I'm not using it. Now, the first and most important thing you need to do if you want to have a correct imported shapefile is to set up your map or your coordinate system in AutoCAD. Now, I'm going to show you the one again that I'm using frequently, which works best with USGS data. So I'm going to click here on this A button on the corner to open up some of the properties. And then down here, I have drawing utilities. So I'm going to open this one, and then I'm going to go to drawing settings. So open up the window. This is the one I need. It's pretty much under the first tab that says units and zone. So drawing unit, feet, angular units, that's fine. Now, conversions. So instead of using international foot here, I'm going to click on the drop-down menu, and I'm going to select the US survey foot. The next one is this one here. It says, right now, my drawing has no projection. So from the download menu, now I'm going to show you, so I'm just going to hit U on my keyboard and scroll down. You can see that you have pretty much every USA state in here. So this is going to be a state plane for each state. Now, in this case, I need to go to Wyoming and select USA, Wyoming. Now, if you work for any other state, you can select any state that you want. And it automatically gives me available coordinate systems. So here on the left side, typically I recommend working with net83 systems, which are these one here. Now, you should know approximately where your project is going to be. In our case, it's pretty much like in the central Wyoming, but it's more going to be on the west side. The actual project location is more on the west side. So I'm going to go down here to net83 Wyoming State Plains, West Central Zone, and make sure you select US foot. So I select this, and now you can see there's the description, projection system, datum, and then I can just hit OK. Now, when you do this, if you notice carefully, I didn't have this geolocation before. Once I create my coordinate system, that geolocation is going to open up. And then, for example, I'll show that later, but you can turn the aerial map on, which a lot of times can be very helpful when you do any kind of design. Now, I'm going to digress a little bit again, since I just selected this particular system, which is not 83, or I don't know how it's exactly pronounced. But a lot of times you get data, for example, in lat long. So a lot of times, again, you will have to convert from one to another coordinate system. And again, I have another, I actually have it here, coordinate system conversion. Now, you can simply just type, again, let me go back to Google, and I can type like, I don't know, NAD, or no, in this case, I need, let's say, a lat long to NAD 83 conversion, or whatever you wanna have that. And again, that's gonna be one of the first one. I always like to use the NGS data. This is exactly the same one that I have bookmarked in my my Firefox. So again, if I work with lat long data, for example, I give you a starting and ending point that has lat and long coordinates in it. You need to convert that into this particular system. So in this case, doesn't really matter which one you use. I'm just gonna go with the first one that's offered here. Make sure that both horizontal and vertical are the same ones. And then for the zone, again, in my drawing, I selected Wyoming West Central, which means now I need to go and find this one. So it's gonna be pretty much the last one here. This is Wyoming West Central zone. Now, if I have any coordinates that I want to input here, let's say, I don't know, I'm gonna have like 44.67. I think that's gonna be somewhere close to our area. And minus 107.6, something like that. When I go down here, these are the numbers that I need. Under the SPC here, I have the northing, as you can see, oops, it's given in, I don't know what just did. Did I go back or something? All right, let me hit submit again. So right here, I have the northing in US feet, and I have the easting in US feet. So these are the two numbers that I need to use as conversion factor from lat long into this particular coordinate system that we were using. So in some cases, if you need to do that conversion, there's a lot of online tools that you can use, and I typically like to use this one because it's coming directly from USGS, and it's a pretty good conversion tool. All right, so this was just a little digression, just to kind of show you how to convert between different systems. All right, let's go back to the drawing. Now, there's a couple ways that you can import shapefile. One that's used frequently is if you go to insert, and then where's the import, and then you can import, for example, GIS data from here. But that one is not going to give you a very good and precise surface once you create. So I'm going to show you a little bit more complex way, but much better and much easier to work with later. So once you get used to this, it actually becomes very easy. Now I'm going to go to my command here, and I'm going to type a command, map import. So you can just type it in, and it will show you automatically which one to use. I'm going to hit enter, and then it will take me to this import window. Now, when you do this for the first time, it's probably going to be this one, the SC2 point file. But make sure that you select the shape file. And then I'm going to go back and find where my shape file was. So I open up, and here it is, the elevation contour shape file, and I'm going to hit OK. Now, in this import window, there's a couple things you need to do. First, if you didn't do the coordinate system at the beginning, you can do it here, but I always recommend do it first before you even start working on this. So you can see that I have my coordinate system already set up. Now under here, this is the input coordinate system for the map that I downloaded. So it's a different coordinate system given in lat longs, but it will automatically be converted into this particular system right here. Now, the important thing to do under data, make sure you select the drop-down menu, and then you select create object data, and it will show you here the elevation contour. Now, if I select fields, this is all the data that exists in that shapefile. The one that I'm mostly concerned about is this one here, contour elevation, or contour ELE. So that's the one that's most important for me to import my elevation. So I hit OK, and now you can see under data, I already have the elevation contour selected. And the other thing that it's also recommended to do is check this one, import polygons as close to polylines. This will kind of help with some errors. It's not going to eliminate all of them, you will see, but it will help with quite a few. And then I just hit OK and just wait for a couple seconds. It will process everything I need and it will import the map. So there it is. So it says 34,551 objects inserted in 10 seconds. Now I don't see where my map is because I don't have a reference point. So there's again a couple ways you can do. So you can either type in the command Z, hit enter, and then E and hit enter, which is exactly the same thing as if I go to view on my menu, and under view I click on extents. So this means it will zoom in to the map that I just downloaded. So this is the shapefile that's now being imported into Civil3D. I'm going to show you some things that we'll see some problems later when we upload. Actually, not problems, but errors that Civil3D will report. I cannot really find them now, but for example, there are some breaks in some of the contour lines. It's kind of hard for me to find them off the bat here, but there's a lot of breaks in contour lines, and you will see that later when I do some formatting. It will give me some errors. Now, what I know, for example, currently my area of interest is going to be right here. So this is where I need to build my road, between somewhere maybe from this point here down to this point here. Now, one thing to pay attention to, for example, now, this is not imported correctly because I'm still missing elevation files. Let's say if I click on one of the points and I open up my properties. So I have the vertices, and as you can see, they're given in northing and easting in this coordinate system. But under here, elevation, it says 0. So for now, it imported all the contour lines as polylines with 0 elevation. But if I go down into the object elements that were imported, I can see under here, contour elevation, that this particular line has an elevation of 4,080 feet. So what I need to do is to attach this contour elevation to this particular elevation here so that I can use it as a surface. Now, I cannot do this directly here. I have to do something else before I do that. Now, this is what I wanted to show you before. If I go to geolocation and I turn map on, let's say I turn the aerial map on, if my coordinate systems are correct, this is what I should see, right? So my contour elevations are actually fit perfectly my background map. So the road I'm going to be developing is going to have starting point somewhere here underneath this like a crop circle, and then I need to go down to Highway 14, which is, sorry, this is the problem that I'm having because I'm connected remotely, so my mouse is a little bit oversensitive. I need to connect that to this roadway here. So I'm going to show you that later. For now, I'm going to just turn it off. So this is another good check. Make sure that your aerial map corresponds to the contour lines that we have in here. Otherwise, if your map doesn't turn on, it means you have a problem with the coordinate system. Now, first what I need to do is to save this one. So I'm actually going to save it under my desktop. Let me go back to the lab file. So I'm doing class demo, and I'm just going to save this one as contour. So I'm going to save this, and then I will close this one, because in the next step, I need to attach this as an external object into my drawing, and then do some formatting to get correct elevation contours. So I'm going to open up a new drawing here. Again, the first thing I need to do, now this is not very important in this case because once you import the other drawing, it will automatically attach the map. But still, it's a good thing to do the same thing as we did before. So make sure that we select the same coordinate system as we did in the previous step. So US survey foot, and then I'm going to go, it's not Antarctica, I need to go to US, Wyoming. and then I need to select the one that I had before. So it was not 83, West Central Zone in US foot. All right, so that's the one I need. Hit OK, make sure I have the same coordinate system. Now, again, I'm going to turn the properties off. Now, there's another tool that we can use here. And again, you have to type the command because you cannot access it directly from here. You can access if I change the module from Civil3D to planning and analysis, but I don't want to switch between modules. I can do everything from this one here. So the other command I'm going to type in is map W space. So this is a map tool that's going to pop up. So you just type it as it is. So map W space, hit enter, and then hit another enter to turn it on. And here's my toolbox on the left side. So this is my map toolbox now. So it's currently under Display Manager. The one in it is the tab Map Explorer. So I'm going to click on Map Explorer here. Now the first thing I need to do is to attach the contour drawing I created in the previous step. So I'm going to go here down to Drawings, and then right-click, and then Attach. Now, this is a little bit, I don't know why they made it like this. So this is not so easy to find what you're looking for. So in this case, luckily I know how to get there. So I need to go to Users and then select My Name, then go to Desktop, and then I can select where my previous drawing is. So this is going to be the drawing that I saved in the previous step, which is this one here, Contours. So I click on that, I click Add, and I hit OK. Now again, I don't see it because it's not inside this window area, but you don't have to worry about that. So now it exists inside this drawing. The next thing I need to do is to run some queries. So under here on the query library, current query, I'm going to go right click and I'm going to hit define. So first, on this side, there's location. So I'm going to select location. And I'm going to select all. By default, it's going to be selected. It means it's going to select the entire drawing that I imported before. You can also select portions of it if you know where it's going to go. But in this case, I'm just going to go with the whole drawing. And I hit OK. So this only means it's going to import the entire location of the previous drawing. Now, the other important thing I need to do is to create the elevation. So to do that, I'm going to hit Alter Properties here on the right side. It will open up a new window. Now, as you can see, there's a bunch of different properties that we can define. The one I need is given right here. It says elevation. So I'm going to select elevation. And then down here, I need to click on expression. So I'm going to open up the expression. Now, this is the one that I need, the object data. So that's the second. So I'm going to expand the object data. It says elevation contour. So that's the previous drawing. Now, which properties from this elevation contour I need to assign to my elevation? I'm going to expand this one again. These are all the properties that were imported in the previous drawing. And as I mentioned, the one that contains elevation is this one here. It says contour ELE. So select that one. I'm going to hit OK. And then important thing, don't miss, hit Add. Don't just hit OK. First hit Add. Make sure it exists here. And then I'm going to hit OK. Now, instead of the preview mode, I just want to create a new drawing. So I'm actually going to create a new drawing from the previous one using the entire location and using contour elevation as my elevation property. So draw, and then I'm going to hit execute query. And again, this is going to take a few seconds to run. If you look closely, it says exactly the same number as we had in the previous file. Now, I still don't see the drawing. I'm going to show you that again. We just need to zoom into it. But again, important thing to have. Otherwise, I would have two drawings, one as an object and one as the actual drawing. So I need to detach this one. So again, under drawings, the one that we attached before, I'm going to go right click and detach because I don't need it anymore. Now, again, I'm just going to go to view and then extends. And here's my map again. So as you can see, it looks exactly the same as the previous one. But now, if I click on, let's say, one of the contour lines and I open up properties, what happens? Elevation, it says here 4,020 feet, right? The properties from the contour elevation, it's exactly the same number. So since we attached the elevation to be the contour elevation object, now we have the correct elevation, and now we can actually use this one as like a background file to create our surface. And this goes for any other. I mean, I can select any other contour line in here. Here's my elevation. Here's the contour elevation. So these two numbers are exactly the same. I'm gonna close the properties. A couple more things. So currently, if I go to home and I check my actual layer, it will create a new layer that's called elevation contour. This can be useful later if you want to turn this one on or off, but doesn't really matter. Just something to know if you need to turn this one off. Now, before I actually create my surface, I don't need this whole thing. So what I can do, since I know that my area of interest is right here, I can draw just a border and then use that border as pretty much my borders for the project. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to open up my layer properties, create a new layer. I'm going to call it border. I'm going to put different color, let's say red, so that I can see it easily. And then make this one as current. And then close. Now I can create a little rectangle within my area. I just want to make sure that, okay, everything is still running. So I'm going to create a little rectangle for this particular area. The crop circle is somewhere here. The roadway is somewhere here. So I'm just going to create a rectangle like this. That's going to be my border, and just close it. Now, the other thing I can do, since I have a bunch of, as you can see, elements that I really don't need, I can get rid of a lot of them. So I can delete a lot of these elements that I really not going to use. I just want to make sure that I don't delete anything that goes inside this rectangle. Now, this is where the properties, where I showed it before, if my properties tab, the toolbox is turned on, this is going to go so much slow. So make sure this one is turned off, and then you can easily work. So I'm just going to shave off a lot of these elements that I'm not going to need anymore. So something like this. And I'm not doing very precise. This is just a demo, so just for you to kind of get the idea how you can simplify your workflow. So there it is. Here's my border line, and then these are the contour lines that I need. So the next thing I need to do is to create a surface. Now, I don't need my Map Explorer anymore, so I can turn this toolbox off. I'm going to go back home to the Home tab, and then this is where you turn the prospector on, this little tool right next to this hammer and the wrench right here. It says prospector, and I'm going to turn this one on. So under the prospector, right here, it says surfaces. So I go here, and then right click, and I say create surface. So the name, under the name, I can call it whatever I want. So I'm going to call this one Levitt, just because this is the Levitt reservoir. Now, another thing that's important here, under style, so if you leave it as it is, it says contours at 2 and 10 feet. This means it's going to create contour lines, minor contours at 2 and major contours at 10. Now, for some project, this is good to have more detailed contour lines. But in this case, if you work with large files, this is going to go very, very slow. So if I click here, actually on these little 3 buttons right here, and then under the drop-down menu, I can select a different one. Let's say I want to do contours for design, and I'm going to select 5 and 25 feet. It means it's going to give me 5 as minor and 25 as major contours. So like this, hit OK, and it created my surface. So again, if I go back to my tool space here, I expand the surface, and there it is. So I just named it Levitt, and it's right there. Now I expand this one again. I have masks, watersheds, and I have definition. and I expand definition. So first what I want to do, I want to create a surface that's only inside this rectangle, so I don't need the whole thing. So I'm going to select boundaries here. So under boundaries, right click and then hit add. So I can name this as my board, doesn't really matter how you name it. The important thing, under type, make sure that you select data clip, because it's only going to clip the data which is inside the borders. If you want, again, more detailed, you can select a lower mid-ordinate distance, but I'm just going to keep it at 1 foot. That's perfectly fine. Hit OK. Now I can select my rectangle, so I just have to zoom in closer. I select my rectangle, and here's my border. As you can see, a black dot just appeared next to the boundaries, which means I have boundaries selected now. So now I can create my surface, but first what I want to do, I'm gonna, let's say, go to my layer 0. I'm gonna turn this one off that I create. So my border layer, I'm gonna turn it off for now, just because when I select the contour lines for my surface, I don't want it to select the border because it will get confused if it has another object. So as you can see, I just turned it off. It doesn't exist here anymore, but my borders still exist because I defined the borders using that rectangle. Now I'm gonna go down to the contours. I'm gonna hit, again, right click, add, and then you can put a description if you want, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna keep these factors for width and distance. And also, a lot of times, I've been reading some manuals and listening to some people. They recommend turning on this swapping edges also, where it says minimize flat areas. I'm gonna hit OK, and now it's gonna ask me to select where I want to create my surface. Now, since I already have a border, I'm just gonna type all, A-L-L. So I'm just typing that on the keyboard. I hit enter, and as you can see, it selected the entire this entire drawing that I already have, or you could have just selected it manually. It doesn't really matter. So I select it, and then I'm gonna hit right click, and as you can see down in the right hand corner, it says it creating break lines, surfaces, contours, and these are the errors I mentioned before. So there's a lot of break lines, and that's because some of the contour lines are broken. So you will get some of these errors, but this is really not a big deal. If you work with more detailed data, you probably won't have these errors, or you have much less of those. So I'm just gonna hit this OK button, that's fine. Now what happened? Here is my surface. As you can see, it was created inside that rectangle I selected before. So for example, again, I can show you this. Let me go to elevation contour. Where is it? There it is, elevation contour. I'm going to turn it off for now. So here's my surface. Now, my AutoCAD, again, is automatically set to have this dynamic zoom in. So if I'm too far away, I'm not going to see my contour lines. But if I zoom in, as you can see, they show up. So this, I don't know what to call it. These pink ones are the minor contours. The green ones are the major. Remember, we selected 5 and 25 feet. So if I go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on and so on. You can shift this as much as you want. So for example, if I go back here to surfaces, and I go to right click, and I go edit surface style, I can, for example, leave only the major contour lines if I want. So it doesn't really matter. You can play with this as much as you want. Again, sometimes this is a good thing, sometimes it's bad because I have this dynamic zoom active in my Civil3D. Now, when you create your roadways, you can use this as your surface, or in this case, let's say my elevation contour lines are good enough. So I can actually go back and use my elevation contour lines as my background over which I'm going to start creating my my roadways. So I'm going to turn the elevation contour back on. And this is the layer where my surface is. It says C topo. And I'm going to turn that one off. So my surface still exists, but I'm going to turn that layer off. So what you can see right now is I still have my contour lines. I don't see the surface because it turned the layer off, but I can very comfortably just use these contour lines to start creating my line. All right, so before I do that, I'm going to save this one so that I don't lose something. I'm just going to call it, let's say, Levitt Road or whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. All right, so now I have my terrain, I have my contour lines. Now I can start developing my alignment. Now first, again, what I can do is I can turn the map on just because it will be helpful for me to see where my drawing is going to be, where my roadway is going to be. As I said, it needs to start somewhere underneath this crop circle. Let's say this is my starting point.